Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including four-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a four-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
Three-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a three-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare two laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Hello and welcome to the Simutec Motorsports TCR Winter Series live on Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is DJ Clark for tonight's meeting. Sam Kumo is operating the cameras, and we're here for round 4 of the championship. It is Donington Park on the national layout. DJ, this is a super fun circuit. Whatever car you're driving, the first sector of the laps, the Carina curves, some of the best corners I think really in the world, and also quintessential as well for these TCR cars. This place hosts the BTCC every season, so yeah, it should be a very good round tonight.
Yeah, it should be very, very good. These cars are going to feel right at home, and you've got plenty of good areas to try to get an overtake done in these lower horsepower front wheel drive machines. We are, of course, running the national layout, so not having the Melbourne hairpin. That's going to create some interesting moves going down into that Robert chicane. Always a tricky area that you've got to watch out for, but it is going to be some fantastic racing from flag to flag.
Yeah, I think so. And we've got 3 20-minute races for tonight. For those of you who haven't tuned in, I'm sure many of you are very familiar with the format already. But we have this 15-minute qualifying session that sets the grid for race 1, which is 20 minutes long. And then the results from race 1 set the grid for race 2. Then for race 3, there is a random reverse grid. All the pros are put ahead of all the AMs, but both of those classes are inverted to a certain extent, between 6 and 12 places for each. So this is just a reverse grid. It muddles up the grid a little bit, and race 3 is the little more chaotic one, usually due to that. But always important to get a good qualifying under your belt so that you can have a good race 1. Of course, that race 1 can really help you out in race 2 as well. And currently the drivers are out in qualifying. And at the moment, it is Terje Flatson at the top of the standings. And DJ, he was superb last time out. He frankly dominated. He was put under a decent amount of pressure in race 1 and race 2, but his drive in race 3, I think he went from 12th position up to 1st in less than 10 minutes. He's going to be a very tricky man to beat.
Yeah, he certainly is, and especially at a track like this, as compared to last week at Knock Hill, which is, sort of notorious for being difficult to overtake. I think he can really stretch out the gaps here. Obviously, a much longer lap than Knock Hill, a lot more room to get those cars up to speed and to take advantage of other drivers. He is going to hope to carry on to the best of his abilities that mega run that we saw him have.
Just set a... No, it's not a... I thought it was a personal best sector. In fact, that first sector for him is a little bit slower. He's struggling to improve a little bit. And what I'm also seeing at the moment is that it's very close tonight, DJ. And anyone who's listened to me in the past, I'm sure many people will be crying their eyes out, being reminded of how many hours of commentary they've been subjected to myself from. But I always like to say how close it is. But it is genuinely very close, and we've got the top 10 at the moment separated by 0.3 of a second. You go back to last week, and Flatson was 0.3 of a second clear of 2nd place. So I'm not sure if this is going to separate out a little bit more as qualifying goes on, but at the moment at least, we're seeing one of the most competitive grids of the season.
Yeah, we really are. It's a very tightly packed grid up at the front, and a bit surprising in that regard. I would have expected there to be a little bit more disparity here on this longer circuit with some really tricky braking zones, but that just goes to show you how difficult it's going to be around here, I think, because all of these drivers are bringing their A game. Very, very close margins as we look down through the entire field. I mean, from first all the way back to 15th, 14th is only separated by a half a second.
Yeah, it's crazy as we see the track temperature and the other details up on screen. 64 degrees Fahrenheit, now that is about 20 degrees Celsius and 65 degrees Fahrenheit, around that range as well. So it is pretty much as cool as it gets. It's also a little bit humid, I think. I think the humidity stat is that 10,018. I don't know what that means, but it looks a bit misty, I think, and that's what I'm assessing that on. Yeah, you see a little bit of fog for the drivers to drive through, but not nearly as bad as what we have seen in other series, specifically at Knock Hill. So it should be plenty of grip for these drivers out on this fairly grippy circuit anyway. You see one of the difficulties of this qualifying session, getting out of the pits. You do not want to impede. The drivers can get penalties if they do impede. I think we saw Joe get one at Imola actually earlier on in the season. And of course with live race stewarding, those penalties will be dished out immediately and take effect in race 1 of the evening. Here is Preben Vale. He is currently P2, just came out of the pits, and this is going to be a very significant lap for him. He's got probably a couple more laps to go after this one. He'll be fueled up, I'm sure, but I'm sure he would like to put in a strong lap here and take away that pole position.
Well, he's only 42 thousandths of a second off of Terje Flatson there up in front, so he's certainly got the ability to try to do it, but you're seeing just how much steering lock he had to put in there going through Hollywood and down into the old hairpin. Very, very tricky. Looks like this is going to be a bit of a warm-up lap for him. He's just weaving those tires, trying to get tire temperature up as high as it will go. My guess is he's probably going to try to set a really good flyer here on his next run based off of that weaving. This is not going to be a good one for him.
Yeah, it's interesting that he's taking 2 warm-up laps. It's not... I mean, it's a longer circuit, like you were saying before. It's one of the longer circuits that we've visited, certainly compared to Knock Hill. And there's plenty of space to warm up those front tyres. I mean, those Koenigseggs are constantly turning, going a lot of speed. So I'm surprised it's taking him a little bit of a while. See, he absolutely hitches up that final chicane perfectly and will start another lap. You may have also just heard the bell go on the pit lane, which I think signifies someone going into the pit. So no worries for him, no traffic for him ahead. And now this will be his real push lap. There's not really a whole lot you can do around the first half of the lap, but yeah, there's only kind of a couple of corners. They're not big braking zones, but they are real opportunities to gain a lot of time.
Yeah, indeed. And it really comes down to how comfortable you're feeling with the car itself. If you've got a lot of comfort, it's more of a lift there, going through Hollywood and the Craner curves, just slightly lifting off the throttle. If the car's not exactly feeling as good underneath you, you may have to do just the slightest bit of brush braking to get the car slowed down a little bit. It just depends on how your setup's feeling, how the car's feeling underneath you, how much courage and tenacity you have to be able to go after it.
Looks like a fairly good lap for Vale so far. Then Chris back into the pits. One of the championship contenders doesn't look like he's going to have time to improve, as he doesn't take too much curb there at the final chicane, not using all the space on the edge of the circuit either. Is Vale able to improve? It wasn't a couple of personal bests first two sectors. Has still got a bit of time to gain. He does have time though for this last lap. I believe once this next lap is complete, that will be it, as Woodhouse taking much more curb. That's a slight alternative line you can take. Ask goes up to 7th place. Woodhouse unable to improve that. That is less than a 10th of a second off his best time, so it was a decent effort. See there Shirley with the white stripe. He is the first place amateur driver at the moment. He is not going to improve anymore. He is back to the pit. So still Flatson out on track. Flatson in fact just crossing the line right now. Is he able to improve? In fact, I think that may have been an out lap for him. I'm not sure if he'll have enough time to complete any more laps. This is pretty much everyone's last shot from here on in then. Calbert, is he able to get up there? No, so not too many improvements come the end of this session, but still a little bit of potential, I think.
Yeah, a lot of drivers here just not looking at their best. We watched Sven Calbert running a little bit wide. I think he was just trying to get around there a little bit. That was Scott Malcolm that was able to get around by him. Malcolm currently down in 16th right now. He is about 5th overall in that amateur class. Oh, he is going to run and ride, and that is going to scupper his lap here, so he is not going to be able to set in the last time.
Yeah, hopping over the escape road as well. You can see Malcolm was way out of control through the old hairpin anyway. And from that point onwards, the lap was gonna be gone. Where is Flatson? So Vale unable to improve on his last lap. Flatson is about to approach the line, but you can see it's up to 15 minutes. Did he get across the line? I don't think he did. It would have been very close. He did or did not. He takes pole position anyway. It's all good news for him, and it's all good news for Ignium Motorsports. There is Flatson at the top, half a tenth quicker than his teammate Preben Vale. There's Matthew Crisp, good return to form for him. He's not always the best in qualifying, is Crisp, but that is a pretty good effort from him. Then we've got Ben Thanes, Paul King, Ben Hicks, Hakon Ask, Martin Shirley, who is top of the amateurs. Then it's Mark Woodhouse, Sean Gardner rounding out the top 10, separated by only 3/10. There's Chris Young as well, only just 100th of a second behind. And Sven Calbert lines up in 12th place. Then it's Thomas Layson, Adam Wright, Ben Denyer, Scott Malcolm, John Roberts, Niles de Kuiper, Thor Hagen, Neil Stevenson, Ricardo Neto, Greg Parmenter, Rob Jackson, Brian Loynes, 24th. I think that's, well, yeah, just a couple more. Steve Grabowski and Matt Daly rounding out our field. And a little bit of a change-up this time, DJ. We have got a pace car. Now, I hope this is deliberate from the organisers. I think it is, because I think they just see the dangers of the first lap here at Donington. And this rolling start should hopefully alleviate a few problems, and it also means that we're not going to have any drivers queuing back to the final chicane.
For sure, and that is a big concern, is we do have a 25 car field here, and going back into that Roberts chicane is a very tricky start, as I think the cars would actually lead all the way back there. So not exactly the best situation that the drivers want to be in, and now that we're going to be able to sort that out a little bit.
No Steve Grabowski, unfortunately, on the grid. But everyone else is lined up, including Matt Daly, who did not set a qualifying time. I'm not sure if that was forced, maybe by the stewards, maybe picking up a penalty from a previous round, or whether that was voluntary from him, as the drivers start to pull away. I feel like this is very good for Flatson. I mean, I think last time out at not kill. I mean, it's a bit like when you have a dominant driver in F1, DJ, where you really want them to lose a position on that one just to make it interesting. This is great news for Flatson because he's got total control of the field and he's got a teammate alongside.
Yes, he does, and that's going to help him out absolutely to a T as they come here through that final chicane down Starkey straight, waiting for everything to kick off, and he should be able to get a pretty good jump on the field, I would have to imagine.
Yeah, he's not leaving too much of a gap to the safety car, so he's not going to have the option to go too early. Now he has the choice and he puts his foot down. Well, he went as early as he possibly could. Race 1 of the evening here is underway. Terje Flatton leads us away. Good start for Valet to be able to hold off Crisp, who's just having to defend on the inside. They're trying to be overtaken, I think, by Paul King, who's also trying to get past Ben Thanes right now. Hakon Ask also making up a position. So good stuff then from the drivers on the odd side of the grid, as it looks like King is going to be able to consolidate that move. He is up into 4th place, and look how close Crisp is as well onto the back of Varley. Go onto the bridge for the first time. Anyone running wide through the old hairpin, they are very well mannered. There's Alton Park levels of driving right now from the guys out on track, and there's not too many overtaking opportunities around this part of the circuit before it opens up in the last part of the lap. So great start there from Ignium. They protect their lead out in front.
Yes, they're going to be able to hold on to it. A little bit of contact there coming through the first corner between Gale and Crisp. Oh, as that is Gardner off. Gardner just getting a little bit sideways coming down through Coppice. He is going to be falling way down the order, down to 17th, 18th, as we've got a side-by-side here between Malcolm and Denyer.
Is he going to be able to stay partially alongside? No, he has to back out of it. So it's now Malcolm up into 12th place. He's one of the highest gains so far. I think he is the highest gainer. 4 places gained for Scott Malcolm. So excellent work from him. And still the drivers behind him still fighting over those places. Adam Wright trying to go up the inside. Surely there's going to be contact. Roberts with no space to go. He ends up on the grass. And in these front wheel drag cars, it's very difficult to get back on. And Wright spins as well. So Denyer was the only one out of that kind of 3-wide situation. He managed to get through unscathed, as Thanes and Ask both just track extending. That won't be too problematic for them, and if anything, giving Thanes a nice little boost as he was able to get on the throttle a bit earlier.
Ooh, and that's Daly having an off there coming down through the Schwartz curve. That's going to hurt him a little bit as we look back in the order here, focusing in on Jackson and Stevenson. Rob Jackson and Neil Stevenson as they scrap around for 22nd position.
These guys are getting a little bit detached at the moment, seeing that their fight sinks so hard. Still Roberts, despite that off earlier on, managing to stay ahead of those drivers. And thanks to Kim on the YouTube chat saying it's a barometric pressure. Ooh, dear, big contact. Big contact there. Getting onto the grass on corner entry. Fortunately, it looks like Calbert has got away with that one without too much damage. He's just been able to skip straight across. It'll be a slowdown for him, but that was a contact just behind. And yeah, wasn't deliberately breaking that late, but just once you get a wheel onto the grass, you lose total control.
Yeah, very easy to do in these front-wheel drive machines. Focusing back in on the lead here. Terje Flatton continuing to lead over Vala. But Vala doing a good job to keep that gap nice and close. We talked about before, Sam, that we thought that Flatton may be able to run away with this a little bit. It's certainly not looking like the case, as he has got a very, very close bit of competition in the form of his teammate, Vala.
No Naveed Hussein, unfortunately, tonight, so it's all down to Paul King. Well, I say it's all down to Paul King. At least King's the only one with that precise Ignium livery, I think, for me. But anyway, he's doing very well in 4th place. Trying to keep behind Ben Thanes as Thanes gets into the draft. Once again, we move on to lap 4 of this race, 20 minutes in length. And King, who took that 4th position right off the start, remember, he was outqualified by Thanes. He was one of the highest scoring drivers back at Knockhill last 2 weeks ago. He looks much faster, does the Audi driver at the moment, but there is nowhere for him to pass. Will he track extend this time, I wonder? Well, he's just made a bit of a mistake there. That's put him off the rear of his rival slightly. Yeah, just does get on the power very early. Again, that might be a little bit of a 1x for him. We'll have to keep an eye on that count as the race goes on. But this slight defend is just half defending right now from King. He's really dropping these guys off the trail of the podium scissors.
Yeah, you're really getting the sense here that Ben Thanes is being held up by Paul King quite a bit. He really needs to try to nail this exit out of Coppice. He's able to carry some good momentum around. If he's able to keep up that speed going around the outside, there he goes. All right, now what he's going to want to do is try to poke his nose to the inside here a little bit. Maybe be better on the brakes going down into Roberts. He's not going to have the move, but he is just trying to apply as much pressure as possible to Paul King, see if he can force a mistake out of that Hyundai up in front.
Is it going to be a change of position for second place because they are currently alongside Varley going defensive against Crisp. Varley's got a particular big motivation here. He wants to keep that second place and he wants to defend for his teammate Flatson, and Flatson is going for the championship against Crisp. So that is he's going to fight that one hard, and that has put them slightly off back of the race leader, and he was really giving no margin whatsoever for his rival. Even closer this time of things, and you can overtake on this part of the track. The natural line is really opening up the inside, and again King goes very defensive. He's going to have to go defensive into the next right-hander as well, I think. I think actually it wasn't too good a run for his rival, so Ben Thanes stays behind once again. But I know this just has a feeling of when not if, honestly, TJ.
Yeah, it really does. And I've got to commend here Ben Thanes for not trying to go too over-aggressive too early. 20 minutes is a sprint race, but there's still plenty of time on the clock. He's not trying to be really crazy with a late last send, but he's got to watch out because Hakan Ask there behind him now looking like he is going to be the one threatening Thanes. Pokes his nose to the inside a little bit to see if there's some room to be had. Not going to go for a move going down into Redgate, but he certainly thought about it.
Yeah, it's just one mistake for Thanes, and it's could be a loss of position. He took a bit too much curb, or at least unsettled the car over the curb at the end of the last lap. As you see the huge amounts of sand on track. We did have Okayama at round one, which is another very sandy circuit after a while. Laguna Seca as well. This really does give these tracks a run for their money, because I think this next right-hander as well, you see a lot of kind of darts on the track. Those track conditions being carried over from session to session, and yeah, I mean that's pretty much completely covering the circuit there. Neto, I think, has just been overtaken by Loins. So Loins, the pro driver, as you would expect, getting past the 27 Motorsports driver.
Yeah, and a little bit surprising to see just how far back Brian Loins qualified there, but he's doing a pretty good job to move his way forward. Remember, he is up 9 on the day right now, so definitely taking that number 92 to the absolute limit of where he can push it.
Well, here comes Ask then on Thanes. Thanes has the better line though. I don't think Ask will be able to get around there, and King's a little bit slow on the exit as well. So he almost gets him boxed in there with Thanes, who's onto the grass, and look how close these guys are. There must have been a mistake there from King, because these guys are closer than they've ever been. Is that going to be a touch? I think there may have been a little bit of contact, but it certainly seemed to hurt Thanes more than anyone else. This one going back to Young back in 9th position at the moment, as King is defending for absolutely all he is worth. Big late move there from Woodhouse just behind, nearly hitting the back of Ask, and now Thanes really needs to get a move on with this one, because we've mentioned it before. If he doesn't make this move now, he is continuing to be under pressure from behind.
And there he goes, carrying some more momentum around the outside. Now going to look back to the inside here as they get ready to break down into Roberts, riding on board with Ask. He's going to try to pick the pocket of Thanes a little bit, drives that car to what will be the inside of Roberts. A good move there, contact in the back between Thanes and Woodhouse.
That is superb there from Hakon Ask to move up into 5th position. Can Woodhouse make that move as well? Back coming seemingly was Thanes, but he will do well just to maintain that position for the time being. Young also being able to get past Hicks, so good work there from the Hyundai driver to be able to pick the pocket there, as Crisp continues to come very close to overtaking Varley. Neto with a bit of an issue, he's just dropped down to 18th position, and you'll see on the timing tower, whenever that position background goes red, that indicates that a driver is off the circuit. So keep an eye out on that one, as was that a little bit of a tap there between the teammates maybe, but it seemed like Woodhouse has moved past, and things going from bad to worse for Ben Danes, who was looking very good for 4th position earlier on. He's down to 8th now.
Yeah, and I spoke a little bit too soon about his patience there. He needed to get a move on. That is the Igna Motorsports Spark driver. There's contact there between him and Young. That is going to send Thanes up and through. That is going to be a slowdown for sure.
That's agonizing for Woodhouse. Really not doing too much wrong, as he's got damage. He has got damage, you can see. I think that might just be a puncture. Or it could be, well, I mean, it certainly looks like a puncture. I mean, it could be suspension damage, we're not quite sure. Should get a faster pep and get back out on track. That is going to wreck Mark Woodhouse's 2nd race of the evening as well. Remember, race 2 grid set by the race 1 results. So how close was that between Hicks and Layson? Super close through the Craner curves. It was Hicks who managed to stay ahead. Now expect these drivers to start to separate out a little bit, but seeing that Thanes is still having to defend against Young and co, well, maybe there will be further opportunities.
Oh, and I believe that was Layson trying to take a little bit of a look there up to the inside, or excuse me, that is Hicks trying to take a look at the inside now of Shirley to try to insert himself into this battle. Hicks, the Igna Motorsports Blaze driver, going to be down to the inside here, going through the Robert chicane. Now he'll have the favored line going into 1, out breaks his AM competitor, and he has got the position, move Ben Hicks up into 8th place.
Got Layson's being very aggressive with Malcolm and Denya. Denya tried to get past the pair of them. No, that was a smart thing to do there from Denya. Malcolm though into 11th position. Gonna bend Denya. Then you got Gardner and Gardner at the sort of back of this chain. Brian Lloyd's there catching these guys by a 2nd a lap in 14th position. We've seen him make plenty of overtakes already tonight. So then Layson moves on to the next car. Here is Flatson continuing to be caught by Varley. Considering that Varley's had to defend so much against Martin Crisp, so oh dear, I've done it already. Matthew Crisp. Seeing that he's had to defend against Matthew Crisp a lot so far today, I'm surprised that he's been able to keep up with his teammates. But he has not really come close to an overtake yet.
No, he hasn't. And looking a little bit squirrely there coming through Roberts. That TCR just getting a little bit sideways. Late last dive there from Crisp.
Wow. That was a dive and a half. And we'll see if the stewards are all right with it. But he made it fairly cleanly in the end. I think Varley saw that a crash was going to come, and he decides to turn him back. He is miles behind here, is Crisp, and must have spotted a few laps in a row that his rival was braking early. To be fair to Crisp, he gets the apex there. Now, did he... I'm not sure what the rules are with leaving a car's whip, but you can see there Crisp getting on the power very early and understeering wide and forcing Varley off the track. I'm not sure if the stewards will be completely happy with that, but well, you could kind of tell that he wasn't going to get past conventionally, so he had to go for that surprise attack.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that Donington really presents here around this circuit, is that you have to really get your elbows out if you want to be making a good move here. Oh, we've had it off in the back. That's Gardner.
Doing some of the gardening out there. Sorry about that, everyone. Even by my standards, it's bad stuff. He's down to 16th place now. Oh no, he's gone off the track, and that will be another slowdown point. In fact, damage seemingly for Sean Gardner. Is that even it? Maybe just having enough. Had that off. Maybe he heard my pun, and he's out of it. Hopefully we'll see him back in race 2.
I think that's it. It's got to be the pun. He must have just heard it and was like, I can't do this anymore. But
I'm seeing an angry man approach my house right now, but I'm very concerned about him. Is Denya gonna be able to pass Lawrence here? No, he's not. He is staying behind. Although Lawrence, I think, recently making up that maybe he's up 12 places. He's gone up half the field. DJ, and he's I think he might still get a top 10 out of this.
Hey, very well might. And remember, if he's looking ahead at this, Brian Loynes rather, he is in a pretty good position here come race 3. If he's able to continue this pace on through, we don't know exactly what that invert is going to be, but being up to 12th, that is the maximum invert size, so he could be starting towards the pointy end of the field come race 3 if he's not able to get anything more. As there we see Sven Calvert throwing a good move on John Roberts, able to get his way around.
Yeah, that is a good point. Being around the range that he is at the moment is not a bad place to be, certainly come the end of race 2. So yeah, there's kind of pros and cons of moving up much further. Ricardo Neto back past Stevenson. Then he has had a few problems. Has the 27 Motorsports driver. It's now 22 seconds off the race lead. He's not going to be able to make up that gap. I don't think he's going to be able to make up the gap to John Roberts as well. 4.5 minutes left in race 1 of the evening. And Crisp really close. Here we go. Is this going to be a change for the lead? 2 championship protagonists. Crisp barging his way through. There's contact between the two of them. Can he get back past? This is going to open the door for Vale, albeit Vale may let his teammate back through anyway. Crisp is past, but this is getting personal now between these two. We haven't seen them race wheel to wheel too much so far this season. Probably Yokoyama, I think, the only time. But now this is proper gloves off stuff. And Crisp is ahead of Terrier Flatson. But Flatson will not be happy about it.
No, we won't. That was a little bit of an elbows out, shove your way on by kind of move there from Matthew Crisp. And I don't think Terry Flatten is going to take that lying down. He is all over the back of that number 18 Audi right now, looking for a way past. As we've said, though, as he flies his way up through McLean's, not exactly the easiest overtaking around this part of the circuit. Still pokes his nose a little bit to the outside of the corner. Now coming down into Coppice, you can see there Crisp just trying to fend it off, and they come together again!
Controversial. I'm sure the stewards will be looking at that entire lap, and this is disastrous for Matthew Crisp, who is going for the championship. Remember, we've got Young now off the track, so that's some sorts of relief, at least for Crisp. And Young dropping a bunch of positions right there. Crisp, he is losing another place now to Hicks. Well, we're going to get a replay of that one. Whose fault was it? Did we see a too early turn-in there from Flatson? Or was it a delayed turn-in, I wonder, from Matthew Crisp? Could be pivotal, and of course Vale, if he so wishes, may slow down and give his teammates this race win. But I'm sure the organisers will be considering a penalty for one of the incidents that we saw. Any initial thoughts on that one, DJ?
It looks a little bit like a racing deal to me. I think Flatson there did turn in a little bit early, trying to make an earlier apex of the corner, going for an over-under. There may have been a little bit of a checkup from Matthew Crisp, just trying to plant the car at the apex a little bit. Just a bit of miscommunication in between the two, and that's what I think led to the spin. I would call that just hard elbows out racing in some TCRs, but we'll have to see what the stewards say.
White flag shouldn't be out, but it is out apparently. And let's hope Wisconsin has to do maths, because we've still got 1 minute and 50 to go, and the lap is 1 minute 12. So I'm not sure why iRacing thinks this is the last lap. But once the white flag is out, that's it. I mean, that's how this iRacing system works. It bases it very much on when the white flag comes out. It doesn't calculate the checker flag separately, it calculates the white flag. And the next up is the checker flag. So this is going to be it. So all the more important in this midfield battle for who is going to be able to get ahead. Lawrence, who has had a storming drive. I think that will be his last overtake. If he can make it stick, runs wide, but he is through. He's up to 9th place. Epic stuff there. Sim Stickers Racing driver. He gets ahead of Layson. Surely managing to benefit from a couple of the incidents ahead of him recently, up into 7th place, top of the amateurs. But, well, we wait to see if Varley is going to let past Flatten. I don't think he is. I think he's going to take this race win, and it's very well deserved. Because here comes our race winner. It is Preben Varley, the number 36 car, who wins here at Donington Park and takes pole position for race 2. Terje Flatten finishing in 2nd position, and King will be in 3rd place. Will be a little bit of a quiet race in the end for him after defending hard in the early stages. Crisp down in 6th position. You would have seen beforehand, as we also see Martin Shirley from pole position in the end, taking the amateur class win. You would have seen that the instant between Flatten and Crisp will be investigated post race 3. So they want to have a proper discussion about that one, and any penalties will be applied to this race.
I like to see that. That is definitely one of those incidents that is going to take a little bit more review for Matthew Crisp. So I like that decision from race control to look at it afterwards, so they don't really have to be under the gun and they can just take their time to really go into the fine minutia of that incident.
So I think I figured out now why it's 16 laps. So I was complaining about the iRacing system. Absolute falsehoods. Libel. There you go. That was libel from me. The session has 16 laps maximum on it, so that is why we were a little bit short. And there's 16 laps as well on race 2. So that is the reason for all that. So expect it to be a little bit short of the time again. There is the results. Varley at the top. Flatten, King, Ask, Danes, Crisp. Shirley was top of the amateurs. There was Hicks, Loins. Layson was 10th place overall and 2nd place out of the AMS. Ben Denyer was in 3rd place out of the AMS. Then it was John Roberts, Chris Young, Sven Kalber, Ricardo Netze, Thor Hagen, Niles de Kuiper, Mark Woodhouse in 18th. He had to come to the pits as well, did Woodhouse. Good effort after that one because he got a puncture. Greg Parmenter, Rob Jackson, Scott Malcolm, who had an off. We didn't see Scott's off, but he was doing decently in the top 15, but then had an off with about 5 minutes to go in the race. That's why he was so far down in the end. Daily Neil Stevenson, Sean Gardner, Adam Wright, and Steve Grabowski. Grabowski didn't take the start, I think. Wright crashed on lap 2, corner 1. So that's why he was so far down. Feel like rejoining the circuit, but watch out for Wright because he is very quick. And if he does take the grid for race 2, he will be storming through the order undoubtedly. This series, of course, is sponsored by Simutec, and we really do thank them for sponsoring this series. Simutec, well, I mean, if you want to drive like a professional, if you want to drive a professional motorsports simulator, which is often used by real racing drivers, be expertly coached and engineered to learn and navigate your way around some of the best circuits in the world, some of the fastest cars available. And if you want to become a faster sim racer and get yourself on par with the esports pro drivers, visit www.simutec.co.uk and yeah, you can check out the services that they provide. So big thanks to Simutec, and do certainly check out their website. I believe there's a link in the description below. So we've got this little cool down period now, DJ, before we head to the next race. But I imagine there'll be some fairly frustrated drivers out there going into this too. None less so, or none more so, sorry, than Matthew Crisp.
Yeah, indeed. I think in this second race, you're going to start to see the aggression ratchet up a little bit more. We saw towards the end of that first race that drivers were really starting to push a little bit, really starting to be aggressive with their overtakes, recognizing some of the difficulties that are to be had in overtaking around here. The two best areas that we really saw it, Redgate and Roberts, those two areas, and down into Roberts, very, very tricky to get that pass done, as that corner looking to be very, very one way.
Yeah, it certainly does seem to be the case. Yeah, kind of a few half overtaking opportunities, but nothing too obvious for the drivers. I am pleased though that we're using this layout, and before we went live, I exclaimed enthusiastically that we weren't using the international layout, but I don't know what your thoughts are, DJ. I mean, you don't have to cater to my own taste, but do you prefer this national layout to the international?
I actually like the international layout. I think the Robert chicane on that presents some really interesting areas because of the way it sort of opens up in the middle of the corner, and then the run down to the Melbourne hairpin. That's my personal opinion, but this one, with these races, it's starting to change my mind a little bit, putting up some good racing.
I mean, certainly the layout I'd want is the proposed 2010 Formula 1 layout, when we're going to do a bit of a track extension, get rid of the Roberts chicane actually, and just make that big straight into the Melbourne hairpin into just one long straight, and kind of keep the Craner curves and most of the other parts of the track. I do recommend checking that out on YouTube. There's like a really dodgy, like low quality video that you can watch on it, but it is quite interesting. So see what this place would have been like as it was being planned to be. This is the grid, and it's just the race 1 results. So Varley and Flatson. Once again, Ignia Motorsports locking out the front row. In fact, Ignia Motorsports 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's going to make it even more tricky for Matthew Crisp to make his way through, having a blockade, if you will, up to the main man, Terry Flatson, in that team. Flatson and Crisp, the favourites for the championship, with just one more round to go of the championship after this one. Once again, we have a rolling start. I can confirm that for race 3, it will be a standing start. Wasn't deliberate, this, but I think the cleanness of race 1 very much has justified the rolling start. We'll see if this one lives up to that once again. As Varley leaving a much bigger gap this time. Now he has the option here. He could put his foot down in the middle of the chicane, which would be a big jump for him. It would leave the others in his wake. Instead he hesitates. The rest will try to catch up to him. And now he puts his foot down. In fact, he was still hesitating. Thought he may have gone a bit earlier. I think a few of the other drivers thought he was going earlier, because we have a big bunch up in the middle pack. But Varley is leading the way heading into turn 1. Looks like Flatson's been able to get into turn 1 in second place as well. Kingpin came very close to gaining a position once again. Crisp is off the circuit. That's dropped him outside the top 10. So even more work now to do for Matthew Crisp in order to catch up to his championship rival. Is Varley leading the way? No changes in the top 2. Mars getting ahead of King, albeit they are teammates, remember. And now there's a big crash just in the background. That's Malcolm and Daly losing a lot of time.
Yeah, they are going to be well out of the order there, as they're both able to get back going under their pressure. Looks like here we've got almost 3 wide. That is Young, Hagen, Crisp trying to make things interesting around the outside of McLean's.
Oh, that can't end well. Wow, I don't know how that ended so well. Oh no, Varley. To Varley, did he pick up a slowdown? Wow, that's a huge slowdown for Varley. So our race leader shooting down the order, and that is remarkable how penalising that slowdown is. He's down to 14th place. Wow. So Fletson leads then, still in Ignium 1, 2, 3, but they will be disappointed with how that one has gone. Good news though for Terry Flatson, and with a few cars, or with 2 teammates behind him at least, he will be really confident about this race too, as Cal Burr seemingly has gone off the circuit and is losing a few places.
Yeah, I'm starting to drop down the order a little bit, but this battle up here for P7 continues to rage on. Layson leading the way, Denyer and Hicks. Denyer able to get on through now. Matthew Crisp continues his aggressive run here early on, trying to go around the outside. Big kerfluffle in the back.
Hagen, Jackson, Parmenter. Don't even know where Parmenter is. There he is. Sim Stickers Racing, stuck in the wall. And hopefully not with too much damage, but that's now twice in 2 laps in this race too that we've had an incident at the old hairpin. Plenty of runoff, plenty of gravel to slow the cars down as well. But not good for them. It'll be a dull rest of the race, I imagine, for those drivers. Mark Woodhouse, meanwhile, he's up 7 places. Had a problem in race 1, had to go back to the pits, get a faster pair. Oh, big contact down the pit straight. That could be chaos for the drivers behind. Are they going to rejoin? They are going to rejoin. Woodhouse manages to get through it. Some good avoidance from Stevenson and from Neto and Co. Denya did get involved. And, well, we're going to have to get a replay of that. It looked like one car was slow on the outside. And, yeah, they went 3 wide, but they were only occupying half the track.
Yeah, exactly. Just a little bit of miscommunication. I think one of the drivers cut over on to the left side a little bit, and that just caused them to hook around. Almost looked like a standard pit maneuver, the way that you see that going down. Sometimes we continue to watch here. Chris Young, a lot of damage to the front of that Hyundai.
Yeah, surely going to need to be a faster pair, I think, for him. Could get maybe a chopper view of that last incident. Unfortunately, I cannot see this one for some reason, DJ, but aha, we haven't yet found it. But apparently Ben, here it is. So yeah, this was chaos. Oh wow, so there's actually one driver going through the middle, wasn't it? And well, I think probably got to put blame on that driver, I imagine, DJ.
Yeah, I think it was. I think they just caught a little bit of that outside grasp. Really left no room there for Matthew Crisp to go as they went in and just caught the left rear of that machine, and that's what sent him spinning.
And that's one of the dangers of dropping down, and I say it every week. Maybe it's becoming a catchphrase, I don't know. Race 1 is very important because if you don't do well in race 1, it's going to compromise your race 2. Admittedly, you know, it wasn't exactly a good start for Crisp in this race 2, but it kind of put him in the pack. Once you're in the pack, it's easy to have incidents, and that is what has happened. So after a very disappointing not-kill round, that strong championship lead that he once possessed is being whittled down very quickly. Now we have quite a spread out top 10 separated by 10 seconds. Usk still staying close to Flats, and you can see on that last lap pretty much matching each other. Thane's very much matching. Usk just in front of him, but that gap now 2 seconds. Everyone's a little bit spread out at the moment.
Yes, they are. Got a couple of little sort of micro battles starting to erupt, including right here with Martin Shirley, who is up to 5th place, the leader of your AMs, and Brian Loynes trying to close in behind him as they make their way through the old hairpin. Some really, really good driving from Shirley. I am most impressed with this run.
We did have an amateur on the podium. I don't know if you can correct me on this one, TJ. I believe it was Layson. He finished on the podium at Imola. Am I right on that one?
I think that's right, yes.
I think this would be second best for an amateur driver up there in 5th place. And well, he's holding his own. On that last lap, he was, well, it was 2 tenths slower than King on that last lap, but he's actually been a little bit faster so far on this lap. A bit faster in Sector 1, matching to 100th of a second Paul King in Sector 2. And you'll see that time pop up on the timing tower just on the left here. And Shirley does take a little bit of time out with his personal best lap of the race.
Yeah, just driving a nice, cool race here. We haven't seen him get overly aggressive with attack or defense. Paul King just running the same kind of lines up ahead of him. That's really the name of the game here at this stage in the race, is everything is sort of stretched out, as you said earlier, Sam. Drivers just trying to run clean here, I think. We may see the gloves come off again as we get closer to the end of these 20 minutes. But right now, this is very much the part of the race where you just want to focus on getting your apexes, getting everything together, and setting yourself up for a good run at the end.
Yeah, trying to keep down those 1Xs as well. As a few drivers, I think I've got a few 4Xs so far, so it'll be in their best interest to try not to track extend too much. Be very careful as well of the slowdowns around this track. Very small curbs around much of the track. and so it's very easy just to cut the track a little bit. Slowdowns can be very penalising. Parmenter, who's already been involved in one crash so far today. Simutec not having a good time. Albeit I think it was Parmenter who was involved in the crash earlier on. I think anyway for Simutec. So I don't think they're doing too bad. It's just a really bad day or bad race 2 for Parmenter so far. We are seeing Stevenson, who's doing much better in this race too. He had I think certainly one issue near the end. Wasn't running in the top 15 anyway before the issue, but he's doing very well right now in 13th place. He is right close to John Roberts, very much a veteran in these TCR cars. And in the Audi in particular, before of course the Hyundai and the Honda were added recently. Certainly seems as though, to the naked eye, Stevenson is a bit faster, but track extending like that probably isn't going to help him too much.
No, that's definitely going to slow him down a little bit, but he's still able to keep that gap under about just over 3/10 of a second, rather, up to Roberts in front of him. So being able to run well is that 1:16 despite doing a little bit of landscaping. Let's watch him here through the Roberts curve, a little bit later on the break. Nice, easy run out of there. The Hyundai taking those corners quite well, able to get up and around, but it looks like Roberts had a better run off of the chicane, able to grow that gap by a couple of tenths of a second.
And whilst the fact that Roberts has got a draft from ahead of him from De Kuiper, that could be a bit of a disadvantage for Stevenson, but if you are the second car often, you can brake a little bit earlier and focus on your exits a bit more, and that can leave you a bit vulnerable. Stevenson could maybe his chance of a sneak attack, surprise attack, are a bit higher in a scenario like this, but yeah, won't have that. Won't really have a net gain when it comes to the draft as he's run wide again. I didn't lose in too much time, but once again, you need to keep down the incidents, because there is a limit in these races for the drivers, which actually I'm not totally sure what it is. I think it's 16. In fact, apologies, I think there is no penalties. Apologies, my bad. There is no instant point penalties, so they can do it as much as they like. So come on, guys, keep it up, because there's a little bit of an advantage to be gained. Here comes Roberts. I think he's going to need to take a 1x in order to make this be a little bit of a poor exit for De Kuiper, and Roberts goes straight through. He's up into 11.
Up into 11th, Niels De Kuiper looking a little bit like he wants to try to fight back, but he's got to be careful. We've seen the speed out of Stevenson before. Doesn't quite look like he has it here. De Kuiper sticking to the back of that number 86 quite well as they break down into the old hairpin. Getting off there. That looks like the first time that we've seen Stevenson be able to keep all 4 tires on the black stuff.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, around that part of the track. Gonna be able to get past here. Yes, he is. He's up to 12. De Kuiper not fighting it too hard. But, yeah, straight through there at Coppice. However, well, maybe there is going to be a bit of a fight here. He's got the much better line though. Does Stevenson, and he does keep that position. They got Neto and Hagen catching up as Neto was a little bit wide through the Roberts chicane and onto the Wheatcroft straight. So I've certainly loaded up racingcircuits.info, and it's really good racingcircuits.info. They even got the 2010 proposal circuits as something on there, as we have actually got side by side. De Kuiper is going to move back ahead then of Stevenson, so I thought the battle was over. The Belgian thought otherwise. He's back to 12.
Yeah, nice little fight back there from Niels De Kuiper. You just saw him be able to take more momentum out of those corners. Again, running a little bit wide. There was Stevenson off of old hairpin. That's such a tricky corner to get right. You think it's a lot faster than it is. You want to carry some good momentum around the outside, but it will catch you out if you are not careful.
The gap between the two leaders up to a second, and this is the most likely move right now that's going to happen, at least amongst the podium sitters. And Ask realizes this. He is going all out defense, still leaving a bit of a gap on the inside. Will Thames take advantage of it? Yes, he will. Can he get it stopped though? No, he cannot. He's wide. at turn 1, and he'll drop behind King and maybe Shirley as well. Well, you got to respect the ambition from this Flemish Simsports driver, but just a little bit too ambitious right there. He was within passing range. Maybe he didn't even expect that late, DJ.
I don't think he did. Ooh, that was a driver off there. That's the 196 of Parmenter again. I think the damage he sustained earlier is starting to hurt that car. But yeah, in terms of them, he had it woed up. I think he just missed his braking zone there.
Yeah, he's really cost him bad. Because, yeah, he was looking really quick as well. I think he may have had the pace to challenge the race lead as well, as Woodhouse is storming back through the order. He's up 12 places now, is Mark Woodhouse, and Brian Loynes has been very quick so far tonight. But Woodhouse faster than Loynes. He's up into 6th, with the slightly scuppered Ben Thanes only just ahead. And with Shirley and Thanes likely to battle, could even get a P4 out to this one, Mark Woodhouse, who has got a podium, I believe, so far this season. Do not believe he's won a race so far this season, though. He's currently only 6 seconds off the lead, which, considering that he started down 18th, is a very good effort from the team Madcar. Certainly one of the closest fields we have seen so far this season out here tonight. Shirley is clearly slower than Thanes. Now, the drivers do score points for their overall position, so it is worth trying to battle a pro driver, but if you know that you're going to lose that anyway, it might be best to lift off and let them pass, and that is exactly what he's done. So Shirley drops back down to 5th, and Thanes limits some of the damage from that earlier mistake.
Yeah, that'll get him back into 4th, and he's still got a pretty decent shot here to try to get up to Paul King up ahead of him. Only about a second gap in between the two. Shirley's going to be able to breathe a little bit earlier. You saw Woodhouse having a wide one there through the corner. That'll buy him a lap or two of breathing room, and as we tick closer and closer to that 20-minute mark, that's all he needs. Not the best run, though, for him coming out of Goddard's, as that is going to slow him down a little bit.
Very much joining this is Loynes. What was Loynes' last lap? 22.2. I mean, it's difficult to compare. Shirley was overtaken after all, but Loynes did gain by 0.8 of a second on Shirley on that last lap, and now Woodhouse is surely going to be able to get past anytime soon. Old hairpin, not an opportunity. Very rarely see overtakes there, but another small mistake from Shirley. You really do not want to be missing the apex around the old hairpin. Compromises your straight line speed all the way around this part of the track. And again, just slightly missing the curve. And this is now a pack of 4. Woodhouse can't waste any time. Wants to, we can still get a podium out to this one. Could Woodhouse? Shirley runs wide, and Loynes will go through as well. And Vala, who was leading the race earlier on, a bit under the radar, he is back into the picture. And he's going to make this worse as well, but that is a block or a legitimate overtaking maneuver. Make up your own minds on that one. There's no stopping though. Vala, he is way later on the brakes, and he moves back to 7th place. Shirley drops 4 places in about a lap.
Very tough there for Shirley, but that was fantastic from Vala to be able to just get that car around. You saw the fade pushing him all the way back. He wasn't deterred, just lifted off slightly to give himself a nose behind, and then got the car where he needed to do it. Really, really good stuff. I'm very, very impressed here from this Igni Motorsports driver.
Johan Cairns, very happy to have you watching along with us tonight. Johan, asking who is the flagman tonight? I assume referring to the to the falsities of us saying earlier on that the flagman wasn't doing a good job, but they are doing a good job as we see Carlberg going off the track, because if you see on the top left, we are on lap 14 out of 16. So that lap limitation will bring us one less lap than we are meant to have, the 20 minutes. But with the rolling start, I think the drivers still get, you know, value for money. They still get these extra few meters on the formation laps at least. So that is a little bit of redemption for them. Closest battle right now is pretty much this one: Hagen versus Malcolm. Hagen was 3/10 of a second slower on the last lap, and I think he's going to be about 3/10 of a second slower on this lap as well.
Yeah, Scott Malcolm just doing a good job to close that down. He's got it under 5/10 of a second. He probably needs to try to reel that into about under 2/10 to have a realistic shot at overtaking here as they work their way right now through Hollywood and into the Craner curves. Malcolm continuing to just bring that gap down nice and slowly. This is a good steady progression here from Scott Malcolm.
I then look at the timing screen, and it's getting even closer between 3rd and 4th, so we may have to cut to that because it's less than 2/10 of a second. And we saw things go for a very ambitious dive earlier on, and it didn't work out for him. He was trying to overtake Hakon Ask into turn 1 as the white flag is out. Oh, Thanes would love to have an extra lap. Sure, Woodhouse would love to have an extra lap as well. He's got to get it done this time though, and one of his main overtaking opportunities into turn 1 has disappeared. He was too far back. Is he at least neat and tidy? He sure is. He really made up a few meters right there. Picks up the draft through the Craner curves. It's all about just hoping that King makes a slight mistake and pouncing if there is one.
Exactly, and a little bit of a narrow apex there from Ben Thanes. That could open up a little bit of a door here as now King looking defensive, looking good, trying to hold that off to the best of his abilities. Not a lot of chances left. He has just got a nail coming out of Coppice to be able to get this done.
Yeah, I'll have to be into the Roberts chicane if he's going to be able to do anything here, Thanes. Is that a decent exit for him? It's pretty even between the two of them, and King will be able to go full defense as well. There's a decent run to the line, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough for Ben Thanes. Out in the lead, it's going to be another Ignium Motorsports win. It's going to be another podium lookout, it looks like, because Ask is in 2nd place and King does take that 3rd place. Beats Ben Thanes after that mistake earlier on. Woodhouse with a great drive back up to 5th. Shirley takes another amateur class win. He is on fire tonight, and with a car between himself and 2nd place man Sven Halber, and Flatson very much extending that championship lead. I think he already had the championship lead, but moving even further ahead now after that race win, which was very simple once his teammates made a mistake. And there is your 2nd place in the championship, Matthew Kiss, still yet to finish the race.
Yeah, these two first races are going to be races to forget here for Matthew Crisp. He is just going to be hoping to be able to piece his way up through the field. Remember that in the 2nd heat race, or this 3rd heat race rather, the fields will be separated out. So the pros will start all ahead of the AMs with that invert, and that'll help for Chris to gain some couple of positions. He just wants to hopefully be able to work his way through the rest of the pros as quickly as possible.
And he's in 12th position as well out of the pros, so if there is a maximum reverse like we had at Knock Hill last week, he could be on pole position. So do not count Crisp out. Now that is a very small chance, the 1 in 6 chance, but 1 in 7 chance actually. It's 6 down to 12. Well, there is the reverse positions. It's bad news for Matthew Crisp. Only 8 cars will get reversed in the pros and 6 cars in the AMs. So 8 cars will mean that Ben Hicks will be on pole position ahead of Preben Vale. So Vale could get his 2nd race win of the evening, and 6 positions mean that Scott Malcolm will be on pole position for the amateurs. And that will be ahead of Ricardo Netzo. So there are the results. Platson up top this time ahead of Ask. King in 3rd place, just ahead of Ben Thanes. As Woodhouse, Loins, Vale, Shirley top of the AMs, Hicks, Halber was 2nd out of the AMs, Roberts and De Kuiper 3rd out of the AMs. And I'll let the rest of the order cycle through for you. Only, well, a fair few retirees. Quite a chaotic start. We had a few problems at the old hairpin, but after that it did seem to get a lot cleaner out there. Hopefully we have a clean race in race 3. We have to launch up a new server, so that means a bit of a break here on Apex Racing TV, but we'll be back with you in probably 5 to 10 minutes for the final race of the evening here at Donington Park. See you then.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS. Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS. Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our
Welcome back to Apex Racing TV and the Simutec Motorsports TCR Winter Series. Once again, I am Sam Fitzpatrick. Once again, alongside me is DJ Clark. Sam Kumo operating the cameras. And we've just got one more race this evening. And of course, DJ, it's probably the one that I look forward to see the most. It is the reverse grid race. Something different can happen. It is tricky for the front runners from the first two races to get through the first few laps all cleanly. And yeah, an opportunity at a surprise winner.
Exactly, Sam. It really presents up a lot of those question marks that you love seeing in this TCR style of racing. The faster drivers having to make their way up through the field, and those incidents come aplenty, as they often do in this third race, as everybody jockeys for position very early on. And also, the added wrinkle tonight is this is the first time we'll see a standing start in these TCRs, so that'll certainly be yet another question mark that we get to see answered.
Yeah, the drivers would have usually had maybe a couple of races to kind of bed themselves in. I don't want to necessarily say practice, because they would have already done probably hundreds of starts in the past. And of course they can use this practice session that they're currently in at the moment to practice a little bit as well. But yeah, that could be important and is an extra variable for the drivers to deal with compared to the usually more simple rolling starts that we've had in the past. 8-car reverse DJ for race number 3, and I think that puts Vale, I think we're saying, up in 2nd position for this grid. He's looked really good. I mean, I think Flatson, you know, he was so quick at not kill, like almost in a different category to the others, that I honestly thought that he might dominate tonight. But it hasn't really been the case. He's the highest point scorer so far tonight, but I wouldn't even necessarily say he's been the fastest driver.
No, I wouldn't either. We've seen Vale be very, very quick. We've seen Matthew Crisp be very, very quick, despite some bad results for him. So it's not a knockout of the park here for Terry Flatten. It certainly is a lot of question marks. He's obviously going to have to be starting from that 8th place position. And I think if anybody's going to streak away from the field here, it could be Vale, as the rest of the leaders have to come back up through and fight their way around. And we've seen such good speed previously out of that number 36 Hyundai.
Yeah, and Crisp won't even be starting in the top 8. For those people who were just tuning in recently, he had a not a terrible race one, but a bad race one after taking the lead for a few meters. I think he may have been about 10 meters off the track, but he was in the lead at some point in race 1. Ended up, I think, in 6th, and then finished way down in race 2. There is the grid then, so top 8 reversed. There's Hicks ahead of Vale. Loynes lining up in 3rd place. A far cry from, I think, pretty much last that he lines up in race 1. Then it's Woodhouse, who was very quick in race 2. Danes has been quick so far tonight. Then it's Paul King, Hakon Ask, and race 2 winner Terje Flatten. Then it is John Roberts, Chris Young, Thor Hagen, Matthew Crisp with a lot of work to do from that 12th position. Scott Malcolm, Ricardo Neto, or Malcolm top of the amateur drivers. Then it's Neto, Stevenson, De Kuiper, Calber, Shirley, Layson, Daly, Parmenter, Denyer, and Jackson. Rounding out the 23 cars we have for this race 3 of the evening. Once again, remember, we've had 2 podium lockouts for Ignium. They line up on the front row of the grid once again. Let's see if they can hang on to it. It's Hicks ahead of Vale. Race 3 at Donington is underway. It's a poor start there for Ben Loynes, I think, dropping way down the order straight away. It's also a poor start, seemingly, for Vale, who is putting himself right into the pack. So great work there from Woodhouse and Danes to gain a couple of places straight away. Vale and Loynes both lose 4 places each, and so it's quite a mix-up from the grid initially. Also, great stuff for Thomas Layson. He's up 5 places according to my screen. So absolutely miracle start from him to really surge his way up through the amateur class so far. Woodhouse putting a lot of pressure on Hicks. Both these guys, after that poor start for Vale, will really feel like they could potentially win this race. Though Danes in there as well, and there's a little bit of contact. Is Woodhouse able to get past? No, it's just a little bit of a slot up there for Hicks. Now a bit of contact with the car behind. Flatson, race 2 winner and also championship leader, spins off right there, hits the wall and has to rejoin the circuit in a lowly position, which will be absolutely fantastic for Matthew Crisp to see. Hicks is still having to defend from Woodhouse, who's going all out attack on this opening lap. He cannot get past, and he'll have to wait at least till lap 2.
And I like this strategy from Mark Woodhouse. Go all-out attack here in the early laps before some of the faster drivers like Crisp are able to make their way back up forward. Although Flatten being put out of the race, that's going to change things up quite a bit. There you see Woodhouse having a little bit of a look down to the inside of Hicks as they make their way through that first corner of Redgate, now up into Hollywood. He's going to keep at it. They're going to keep being side by side.
I think he's going to have the better line here. Woodhouse, can he even keep it within the white lines? Yes, he can. And it is a single file. Very wise there from Hicks to back out of it. Danes will quickly go through past as well. King now bumping the back of his rival, as Roberts, I think, has had a bit of an off there at the Old Heaven. So bad news for him. There goes Danes. I think he was trying to move on Woodhouse. Was he able to pull it off? No, he was not. Woodhouse just turned out of the corner slightly. They managed to get through it too wide. Now more contact. That's Roberts again. And Denyer was involved in that incident that time, as we see Vale trying to regain some positions. In fact, he's just trying to defend against Ben Lloyd. So Vale, we were really complimenting him earlier on, but he is having an absolute mare so far in this race 3.
Yeah, he's not looking particularly good. A lot of defense there and a lot of that inside curbing going down into Roberts. That is not the position he wants to be in. There you can see, though, Hakan Ask doing a very, very defensive lineup ahead of him as we're going to be side by side again for the lead. Thanes down to the inside of Woodhouse.
And Woodhouse, again, not able to get past, but fantastic news for him. We've got King battling with Hicks and co. And so there's a little bit of a gap here between 2nd place and 3rd place. But still, Thanes, who was very quick in race 2, maybe could have even won race 2 if it weren't for an off at turn 1, is looking really racy right now. A couple of drives just running a little bit wide. Vale was one of them through the old hairpin, but he didn't lose any places. This way nearly went for a move earlier on, did Thanes, but again, he's just a little bit too far back. Contact Loins off the track, and he was having a decent run, seemed to have decent pace in 7th place, but he's way outside the top 10 now.
And we've got another side-by-side here. This is Malcolm and Calbert. This is for the lead of the AM battle. That's Malcolm to the inside, Calbert to the outside. Calbert's going to be able to carry a little bit more speed, but this is going to set up a nice little run there. Almost Noah's Ark in the back with Stevenson and Layson starting to get in there as well. Malcolm going to have to be later on the brakes to try to make this move work, but he's got to back out of it.
Wow, that was really well handled there from Calbert. He was a little bit slow on the exit as the headlights now come on for the drivers. And you can see the attack from Stevenson just behind Contact now down the straight. That's not so necessary, guys. But Calbert ends up ahead. The 173 ahead of the 174. And Stevenson and Layson will battle in the background. Layson very quick so far tonight, as he always is, albeit has not been the fastest out of the amateur drivers, it must be said. Vale off the track, and if he had a slim chance at the race win already, I think that is going to pretty much be vanquished now, because he is 5 seconds off the lead and pretty much last of the leading pro pack.
Yeah, he is way, way off. He may find himself under pressure there from Sven Calbert behind him as the Flemish driver may try to put a little bit of space on him. Got a little bit of a battle in the back, though. This is Layson's trying to work his way back through.
He's himself vulnerable, though, to Stevenson on the exit. That's Daly and Shirley behind. Shirley has been in monumental form so far tonight for Simutec Racing. I wonder if he could get another amateur race win. It's looking quite unlikely right now, it must be said. There's still plenty more racing to go. There goes the yellow car of Daly. That's a monumental run for him, and I think he will just about get his nose ahead on the entry to turn 1. 3 wide almost. Are they all going to be able to get through? Just about. Layson did a good decision to back out of that middle move. And it's Stevenson who leads this pack, but they've lost a lot of time with this fighting.
Yeah, they really have. Daly tried to take a little bit of a look to the inside there of the old hairpin and through the Craner curves, but that's not exactly going to work off. Takes an opposite line going down into the old hairpin this time. Ooh, contact in the back. That looks like, I think, De Kuiper Jackson maybe off.
Oh, and Flatson again. Wow, could be bad news here for Flatson. Also, Barmenter gets involved. There goes Roberts trying to make his way through. Wow, just having to pick a line wherever other cars aren't. But this is a dreadful race for Terje Flatson, but still has a clean car at least. Well, somewhat clean. It's pointing straight, I think. But a lot of scuffs on the side, and well, he would have had pretty much one hand on the trophy had he had a strong race 3. But instead he is potentially losing points to his championship rivals so far in this race. Still it's Woodhouse who leads. So we cut back to Layson's. He is back ahead of Daly then. So Daly, who's been fighting very hard, loses out to Layson's, and I think Shirley, who's been very quick tonight, will be soon past.
I think you will as well. You saw Shirley trying to take a little bit of a look there, coming through Hollywood, trying to see if there was anything to be had. He's going to take a wider entry now into the old hairpin, trying to get it to go, poking his nose to the outside a little bit, looking around. He's clearly has more momentum in that 105 machine and just needs to see the door open from Daly.
Taking that much wider turn in for him, and you see the better exit that he gets. Able to get his car on the inside, and Shirley up to 13th place. They will remain alongside, but Shirley's got really the line that you need into the chicane. Although we have seen a few moves around the outside, but you kind of need the momentum, I think, if you're going to be able to do anything with that. And that proves to be the case there. Shirley up to 13th place, and Daly after a very strong move earlier on. If anything, that may have harmed him a little bit because he's lost time with those guys getting back past him. So his good fighting skills maybe a slight curse in disguise in the end. But well, you'll be hoping those couple of cars behind him start battling. That is Denya on Kuiper. Denya, one would expect, would be a little bit faster, and that's what he's trying to prove. Side by side through the crane curve, he's got the inside for the old hairpin, but able to take a normal racing line was to Kuiper. He stays at 15.
Yeah, he's going to be able to stay in 15th right now for the moment, but I've got to say that Denyer looks like he had a little bit of speed, but now De Kuiper able to pull away a little bit more. He's going to keep his eyes focused ahead on Daly. Daly, who in turn is going to have a little bit of a look, but up ahead of them, this is Stevenson and Laysons.
Yeah, Layson having a look, and also Hagen's just got past Varley. What is happening with Fabian Varley in this race? Or I think maybe he got past? No, I think he got past Hagen, and now Hagen's just been able to respond. He's actually matching the race leaders at Varley, so he's not going to slowly. There goes Carl Burr now, so it must have been a mistake there from Varley. This is, yeah, really not good for him. He just lost about a second and a half, even 2 seconds slower than his best lap. Really close for the lead though. It'd be great to get a shot just of all those cars in a train. Woodhouse with a slight gap, but it has come down in the last couple of laps. That last lap, 10th and a half faster for Thanes, and you saw visually there a much better old hairpin. As Cal Burr has had a problem, he has lost the amateur race lead, but we might have a change for the overall race lead in just a moment, because Woodhouse, with one mistake at the old hairpin, has lost the slight cushion that he had, and right now any of these top 6 could win this race 3.
Yeah, they very well could, and we talked about how crucial it is to nail that exit out of the old hairpin. Here comes Laysons. He's going to poke his nose to the inside, going up into the corner, looking for it. Contact!
Woodhouse round. Is he going to make contact? He does make contact, and that wipes out 3 of the protagonists. Woodhouse spinning into Hagen and hits, was it? Or King, I think it was King, sorry, who got a slight tap in all of that. He drops down to 4th, and yeah, you can see the lap time sale, the drivers who were involved. Hicks was involved then, so yeah, bad news for those drivers, and Woodhouse drops down to 10th position. Well, not sure whose fault that was. I wonder if you could get a replay of it, see maybe if one driver was supposed to back out but didn't. But at least Ben Thanes, who I think honestly deserves a race win, judging by his pace so far tonight, in the lead. Here it was. So Thanes on the inside, Woodhouse on the outside. Oh, big load of netcode.
Yeah, and you really hate to see that to determine the lead of a race. Very, very unfortunate there for both of those drivers. Netcode just coming back to bite.
Yeah, you can't do anything about that one. I don't think they would have even made contact. I think both drivers were leaving space for one another, despite it being a very narrow corner, of course. And yeah, it has made this race slightly less competitive. Thanes leading the way, crisp in 2nd place ahead of Ask. I think he may have recently made that move. As we see Laysons, he's gonna just make the corner, but there goes the surprise move from the 105 of from Shirley, and he could gain a couple of places here. Daly also trying to benefit from this one. He's straight down the middle. Is he able to get past? It will be Stevenson seemingly with the better line on the exit, but Daly not giving up this fight.
No, he's not going to try to hang it around the outside here as they come down through the Craner curves. Whoa! That's Stevenson off!
I don't think he's going to hit anyone. Oh, he's done well to control that one. That'll be a huge slowdown though. Oh, slow for Daly. And he's cuts in the corner himself now. Oh, that's a shame for Daly because he was about to benefit from all of that, and then he has a poor corner and drops about 3 positions. Certainly lost out to Layson and Denya and Flatson right there. Now he's got the very quick loins behind. There goes Thanes. Wow, that looks like a huge gap. It is a huge gap. So I think Ask then made a mistake on not on this lap but on the previous lap. He did a 13.3. Whereas on this time, was another 13.3. So Crisp just had a rubbish lap. So Crisp had a chance at catching up actually to the leader. But now with 7.5 minutes to go, I think that's pretty much over. As Brian Loins, who we saw was battling just a moment ago, he has got in a spin and has towed back to the pits.
Yeah, so now what was a battle for the lead is really developing into a battle for the podium here. Ooh, Hakan there with a big off coming out of the old hairpin. That may slow him down a little bit and present an opportunity here for Paul King, who's going to close in on the back of his fellow Ignium Motorsports drivers. Obviously, racing for system teams there. I think this could look like a little bit of a move here for Paul King.
I don't know if they're going to coordinate this one. I think they've been racing on the most part of the Ignium, but well, I can't actually think of a move between the Ignium Motorsports drivers, but yeah, I think they will be fairly free to fight. They are technically different teams. You've got the Blaze car, and you've got the just bog standard Ignium Motorsports team. Of course, you can't have 7 or 8 drivers as Ignium Motorsports have competing in this league, competing against 3 driver teams, so they've decided to kind of divide their teams up. But I believe it is the main team currently leading the team's championship with just 1 meeting to go. Final meeting in a fortnight's time at Brands Hatch as we round out the season, round out this sort of British leg of the season. Not Kill last week, Donington this week, and Brands Hatch in a couple of weeks' time. Seems like Ask has sort of been able to neutralise that attack for the time being. And he is not letting Matthew Crisp out of his sight. They are back into the 1 minute 12, so those 13s were just a couple of really shoddy laps and compromised their races. Varley back up to 5th place. How's he done that?
I think just through sheer persistence alone. Hagen looks like he had a little bit of a slowdown, so that's what helped him move his way forward. And now he's going to be on the back here of Paul King pretty soon if King's not careful.
I'll imagine if Varley gets a podium out of this, despite having 2 offs, but his pace has been so good that he's come back 11.7 on that last lap. He was half a second faster than everyone, apart from Flatton. He was down in 19th place, but I think a lap down on the race. There's contact between 2nd and 3rd. Ask trying to get underneath Matthew Crisp, but it wasn't going to happen for him. And now King having a bit of a look. Is there an opportunity into the old hairpin for Varley? No, he knows he's got time. He's got 5 minutes to get past these 3 cars.
Yeah, he's got plenty of time to do it, so he doesn't need to be too aggressive here. I think he just puts the pressure to the back of Paul King. Hope maybe that Paul King is looking ahead of him on the road. That's a little bit of a bad run there for Ask, and that may be a 2-for-1 here for Vale.
Yeah, I think that was a slowdown maybe for Ask. It's really easy to pick a slowdown up around that part of the track, and so that was a disappointing way to give up those couple of positions. And Vale moves up to 4th position now. Still 4.5 seconds the gap between 1st and 2nd, looking really good right now for Ben Thanes to end Ignium Motorsports' stronghold on tonight's racing. So far, no Ignium Motorsports drivers in the first 2 positions, but they are all stacking up in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th places, pretty much all the way down in that lead pro battle. As I have a move here from King again. You get so close into the old hairpin, but there's really just nothing you can do once you get there.
Yeah, it's not a true hairpin. It's only about a 90-degree corner, really, and you're just not really on the binders enough to chuck that car down into the corner. Riding on board with Vale, here is Paul King. Maybe think about a little bit of a move that was offline there for Crisp up ahead, and here comes Vale on King.
That's the risk of attacking. It leaves you vulnerable. And through goes Vale. Just had to bide his time. There was no super ambitious move into that corner. He just waited for his rival to fall offline, and once he did, he was straight through. So Vale up to 2nd place. Now this last move will probably be the trickiest one on Matthew Crisp. They did fight earlier on, remember. Crisp managing to go for a big dive on Vale heading into turn 1. It was probably move for the day. albeit it will be discussed post-race by the stewards, along with a couple of other incidents later on in that couple of minutes segment. But yeah, it will be trying to return the favour now. Well, Varley still kicking very quick the Craner curves. But yeah, Crisp just not with the same pace that he seems to have in race 1. But I know that last lap for him, 12.75. I mean, he wasn't battling with anyone, and yet he just doesn't have the pace like he did an hour ago.
I wonder if that car is just not liking the little bit of cooler conditions that we're seeing out on track. Temperature has dropped to about 65 degrees Fahrenheit right now, and so that certainly could be affecting him a little bit, but it's just maybe not tweaked right to handle a little bit of a cooler track.
Yeah, you may well be right. What is the gap going to be across the line? I think there's been a better lap here from Chris, but he was half a tenth faster first sector, half a tenth faster second sector. Third sector though, he was a tenth slower, so they pretty much match out each other in the end. 100th of a second faster for Varley. But no need to think about King anymore for Varley. He'll be picking up that draft as well, and should certainly have one attempt at this one. Seems as though we haven't got the lap limit this time. So we will have 17 laps, not just the 16 laps that we've so far been limited to in race 1 and race 2, which will be dreadful news there for Matthew Chris. I'm sure he would like the lap limiter to be in place for this race 3.
Yeah, I'm sure he would as well. Not exactly the biggest fan of having to race this around a little bit more. Jumping back to the battle here for the AM lead. This is Calbera ahead of Malcolm. Malcolm trying to close in to the best of his abilities, but Scott still resolutely about a half a second behind.
Yeah, and that last lap, they pretty much matched one another. Malcolm half a tenth quicker. But I don't think he's going to be able to muster anything up. So, race leader. This should be white flag, but I'm really confused now, because now we don't have a white flag. I mean, we've gone through the whole day having white flags early, and now we seem like we're going to have a white flag late. I think it will be the checker flag this time round, though. No white flag coming up on our system. Well, there is the flag man. He is doing his job. It is the white flag lap. It is the last lap of the race. This one is going to decide what the results are going to be for this race 3 of the evening. Lason's going defensive, Varley slightly off the track. He's closer to Crisp, that gap down to a quarter of a second. He's going to have that one chance into the final chicane.
Yeah, that's really going to be the last opportunity that he has. Varley just has to try to keep up as close as possible to Crisp, running their way through these final sectors. He's got to nail the exit here out of Compass.
Looks good. And now he gets the draft effect. Will he go for a dive? Is it worth? He's already won one race tonight. I'm sure second place wouldn't mean that much to him, but he's still going to go for it. Is there contact? No, there's not. He sent it, but they avoid any damage. Out in the lead, Ben Thanes wins for Flemish Simsports. He deserves that and some. Crisp finishes in second place to at least put some goodness on tonight's evening, and the championship will come down to the final meeting of the season. Varley rounds out the podium. Calbera winning in the amateurs. Wow, that's super close across the line. Roberts beats Daly, who was very slow approaching the line there. Did he run out of fuel, I wonder? Still seems to have consistent engine notes, but certainly was struggling towards the end. There was Matt, and it was very close as well between Shirley and Layson. Shirley just about winning that one. He was running out of fuel, was Daly, had absolutely nothing left. That's what cost him 14th place.
Oh, you hate to see that. So very, very difficult to be able to try to eke the car across when you know you're running out of fuel. We've all been there, Sam. It's some of the worst feelings in the world.
Yeah. Well, I think the worst feeling actually is when you've got 5 laps to go and you realise you have 4 laps of fuel left. You got to make that decision. Do I bail now, take a lap for fuel, and lose 20 seconds in the pits, or try to eke it out? Seemingly it wasn't that bad for him, but you can see some of the drivers actually just ahead of Matthew Crisp giving each other a bit of a bump along in order to get back to the pits. I think a few other drivers running out of fuel right there. The track very cool, so they would have been using a lot of fuel due to the fact they were on the throttle a lot out on track for this race 3. So everyone, I believe, is across the line, and we can take you through the final results for race 3. Ben Thanes up at the top, Matthew Crisp in 2nd place. It was Preben Valley, Paul King, Hakon Ask, Thor Hagen, Ben Hicks, and top of the outers was Sven Calbert, only just ahead of Scott Malcolm. It was very close. Malcolm got real close on that last lap, but wasn't able to beat his rival. Woodhouse was in 10th place. Then it was Shirley, who was by far the highest scorer, I believe, out of the amateur drivers tonight. So congratulations to him. Solid race 3 performance, actually, because I think he started down in 6th position out of the AMs. Then it was Thomas Layson, Ben Denyer, John Roberts, Matt Daly, Ricardo Neto, Neil Stevenson, Niles de Kuiper, Brian Loynes, Terje Flatson, who finished 8 laps out. Now, I'm not sure if there's any extra rules about retiring from the race. I don't know if that will have a big hit on Flatson's points, but pretty much everything that could go wrong in that race 3 did go wrong for him, after really going in as the favourite. Parmenter, Jackson and Young were the other drivers. Young did take the start, but I think he got involved in an incident at the old hairpin pretty much instantly on lap 1. So this is the point where we usually have some interviews, but we don't have any interviews at the moment. I will just give another quick shout out though to the title sponsor for this series, Simutec. And if you want to be expertly coached to learn some of the best tracks in the world, and also drive some of the fastest cars in the world as well, if you want to become a faster sim racer, and learn some tips from the professional esports pro drivers, and if you want to drive a professional motorsport simulator, then do visit simutec.co.uk. At Simutec, you are the driver. Big thanks to them for sponsoring this series, and really promoting sim racing as well with their company. Certainly do appreciate it. So we currently got 2 different broadcasts going on. So thanks for tuning in on this one. Absolutely. Well, yeah, the other one's very good, but this one is better. But I'm seeing currently the other race has got interviews. We do not currently, so it gives us a chance, DJ, to quickly have a chat about the final race of the season. We knew this was a short season, even with the once a fortnight races, but it does feel like it's come to an end quite quick. It will be Brands Hatch next time out on the Grand Prix layout. The really narrow circuit, but another one, I think, like this, which the drivers really enjoy.
Yeah, it's one of those circuits, a lot like Donington, that is absolutely wonderful to hot lap, but overtaking can be a little bit difficult around there. So I think you're going to see, as we've seen a couple of times, a pretty big premium getting placed on qualifying, trying to get yourself ahead for race 1 and 2. Obviously, the invert in race 3 is going to throw a lot of things out of proportion, but it's going to promote some aggression out of the drivers. They're really going to have to fight to get their way forward, I think.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Maybe go for some of those dives like we saw today. Druid's probably the big opportunity. It's Paddock Hill Bend first, and then it's Druid's. I think it's it's turn 2, and going to be some big lunges, I think, to into that corner. As in fact, we are going to have a chat with who I believe is our highest point scorer for this evening. Preben Vale, welcome to the commentary box. 3 podiums tonight, congratulations.
I'm not sure that's quite right, but thank you anyway. I think it's only 2. Race 2
Apology.
Was quite bad, but yeah, I am happy. I'm a very happy man tonight.
Definitely, my apologies. Just remembered race 2. Yeah, you did drop down a little bit in race 2, but race 1 went superbly for you. What was going through your mind when you saw the 2 leaders come together and you were just able to drive straight past?
Well, my only option, or my only job tonight, was to protect Terje, and to not be able to do that felt horrible. But when it turned out the way it did, then I could just go on the inside. I mean, you're always happy to win, but I wish it was under different circumstances.
Yeah, certainly understand that one. And then race 2, of course, you had the slowdown on lap 1. I mean, have you ever felt such anger in iRacing before? Because I mean, you went from first down to 14th, I think.
Well, you can't be angry at the game. It's my own fault. I know about the slowdown. I did cut the corner. It's fine. It's frustrating. You're allowed to be annoyed at yourself because it was my own mistake. But apart from that, I mean, it happens. It happens to everyone.
Yes, and then race 3 was going quite poorly again, honestly, because you started in a high position, but then you had that poor start. Then I think you had an off. Then I think you may have had another off, and yet you still got P3. I mean, at one point when you moved up to P5 and was only like a second off P2, I was thinking, how on earth has he got back up there? So you must be quite pleased, despite all that adversity, you still got a good race 3 result.
Again, calling it adversity is unfair because, again, it's only my own fault. I messed up the start. I went off. I got another slowdown. And then I'm very lucky to have good teammates in the race, and they made it easy for me to get back up.
Yeah, well, it's to be fair, it's nice, Craven, to actually hear a racing driver take responsibility for their mistakes, because I'm sure you know very well how racing drivers will always put it onto something else. But no, it's good that you've taken responsibility for that one. We've got one more race this season, or one more round this season. It is Brands Hatch. What are your thoughts on that track?
I love Brands Hatch. I can't wait for that race. Seeing Donington and Brands Hatch as the 2 races left in the series was one of the reasons that I signed up to do the final 2 races. So Brands is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be argy-bargy. There's going to be contact. Well, I quite enjoy that from time to time.
And we're not totally sure about the points, me and DJ, but do you have any information on what the situation is? Because at least by our calculations with that race 3 result, I imagine Matthew Crisp and Terrier will be quite close in the championship. Is that right?
I don't have a clue. I don't know about the points. I was there to take away some points from the other guys for Terrier tonight. Unfortunately, his results weren't the best. But I'm sure he'll be back on it at Brands Hatch. Don't rule out Terrier getting 3 wins at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Yeah, with that, he managed to do it at Knock Hill with ease. So yeah, that is a good shout. It could well repeat that in 2 weeks' time. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Craven?
First of all, I'd like to thank all my teammates tonight. We were sat together and had a lot of fun, and especially Paul, our boss. He sorts everything out and makes sure we have everything we need. And I want to say thank you to my girlfriend, who lets me sit in this rig for hours upon hour, driving pretend race cars. And to my friend number 1, that's all I'm going to say, and to Øystein, who's amazing. He's taught me everything I know about racing, about life, women, all of it.
Oh, so it sounds like a very good friend. So thanks for having a chat with us, Craven, and see you back in 2 weeks' time.
Thanks, Sam.
Craven Valet there, who I believe is our highest point scorer tonight with a first, a third, and then I believe a 7th in race 2. DJ, I think we've got another interview lined up.
We do indeed. I have the winner of that 3rd race, Mr. Ben Thanes, joining us here in the booth. Ben, being able to walk away with a win in that final race, that's got to feel pretty good.
Hey guys, yeah, definitely. First 2 races weren't great, but the 3rd one made up for it. Well, yeah, despite the fact that I didn't pass Woodhouse in a racing way. I guess it was netcode or something. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, unfortunate to win that way. But nonetheless, very glad with it.
Well, talk to me about those closing laps. I mean, we were a little bit surprised. We sort of looked away at another battle and looked back, and you had a big gap of about 5 seconds or so. Were you just managing pace in those final rounds, or were you still pushing there at the end?
Yeah, well, I was pushing. I had good pace in all 3 races, but it is just very hard to overtake here. And I had some tough fights with, I believe, Paul King. He defended really well. So the pace was there, but yeah, I had a lousy qualifying, and yeah, I could only really show it in the last race. So yeah, a bit unfortunate, but yeah, that's the way it is.
Well, I'll ask you the same question that we asked a couple of the other guys here. Brands Hatch next week, kind of similar in the fact that it's going to be a little bit tricky to pass. How do you like it?
Yeah, great track. I really enjoy driving there with the TCRs. So I guess yeah, it will definitely provide some great racing. I hope to be in front again. I'll put in some practice laps, and let's yeah, hope we'll see 3 great closing races.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck there, Ben. Anybody you'd like to thank for the win here today?
My teammate Thomas Leese did also quite good, and he is leading the AM championship, and of course our team sponsored by Viraco. They are supporting us, and you guys for the great commentary. I enjoy it each time rewatching the races. So thanks for that.
Well, thank you so much. That was your race 3 winner there, Ben Thanes, and I will throw it back to you, Sam.
Yes, well, they were slow coming in. It's like a bad tap, but now the water is flowing. I got a couple more interviews available. Still got a few more minutes left on the broadcast, so we'll have a chat with as many as we can. I will drag up Sven Kalber to the commentary box. Sven, congratulations. Not a bad race 1 and race 2, but even better in race 3, taking that race win. And, well, it was a very entertaining race from your perspective, it looked like.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was, yeah, it got me a little bit off guard because of the rolling start. Really bad first lap, made a little mistake in turn 1, and yeah, once you get on the side, you start falling back and you can't recover really in the first lap, so I was dragged back to last. Managed to drive back to 4th, so okay, pretty good ending. And the second race, couldn't quite catch Martin. So congrats to him for the 2 race wins from race 1 and race 2. And then race 3, had a fun battle with Scott, and yeah, managed to keep the win though. So very good result.
Yeah, it was really close between you two. I mean, who do you think had the slightly better pace? Because at some parts it looked like you were faster. I mean, after all, you started behind him and got ahead, but in those closing stages, it seemed like Scott was coming back.
Yeah, in the closing stages, he really was coming back. I think I burned my tires a little bit. I got a little bit too high temperature, because in the last sector I always lost a half a second of my time. And then the pressure from him, half a second behind me, always in my slipstream. So yeah, I managed to get him out of my slipstream once, but yeah, one slight mistake and he's right back there. So yeah, it was quite exciting. Had fun.
And we've got Brands Hatch next. We were saying a sort of similar track to this one. Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, looking really forward to the last race, because I think second, third between Scott and Martin between me is gonna be real exciting. So looking forward to the last race, yes.
Awesome. Well, best of luck in that championship battle. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, everybody in this race, great racing, had real fun. It's unimaginable in such a series to be driving so close, door to door, with quite less incidents. So yeah, thanks a lot. Also the organizers and you guys. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Awesome.
See you next race.
Thank you very much, Sven. Yeah, see you next time. We have got, I think, one more interview, DJ, coming up.
We do indeed, and that is going to be with our second place finisher in the AMs in that final race, Scott Malcolm. Scott, a great result in that third and final race, and some pretty good slicing and dicing through the rest of the field earlier on.
Yeah, it was not bad. It was not bad. I was just saying to Sven earlier, how wide did he make that car?
Well, talk to me about that battle in the final race between you and Colbert. That just looked like it was very, very intense. I mean, how hard were you pushing to get around him?
I wasn't pushing that hard, but I knew the corners that he was struggling with, and I was just kind of like trying to put as much pressure on him as possible, because I think it was old hairpin. He went off a couple of times on the grass, so I was like able to catch him there. And there was one other corner I can't remember. I think it was the chicane at the end. He was just a wee bit slower than myself, so I knew where I could get him, where I couldn't get him. But God, he made that car wide.
He certainly did. And speaking of wide cars, I got to imagine there's going to be a lot of them when we head to Brands Hatch in 2 weeks' time. Do you like the track? Do you think it's going to go well? How do you see it shaking down?
Yeah, this is going to be a good. It's going to be a good couple of races there. Brands Hatch is always good in these cars. As you see in the TV with the touring cars, it's just great racing there. So hopefully we go to a good one.
Well, fingers crossed for you and the rest of the field. Scott, anybody you want to thank for this second place in that final race?
Just Team Mad, yourselves, all the other drivers. I think that's really about it. I think. Oh, it's Sven for making me sweat, because that was hard going.
Well, it was indeed, and thank you and congratulations once again.
Cheers. No bother.
All right, that was Scott Malcolm, our final interview on the day, it looks like, Sam.
Yeah, that pretty much rounds off our interviews, like you were saying, DJ, and rounds off our coverage of this series as well for this evening. But there is still one more round to go, 2 weeks' time, at Brands Hatch, where we will crown our champions. Looking very good for Laysons in the AMs, I believe, but for the pros, we're not quite sure what their points are. But at least, as far as I'm aware, I think it's going to be close between Crisp and Flatton, which wasn't looking like the case going into race 3, but that dreadful race 3 for Terry Flatton really opening up the championship. And so it will come down to the final round at Brands Hatch. You do not want to miss it. Of course, this series alternates with Sim Racers World Other Series, their IMSA Winter Series, and that's progressing at the moment. I think that's got a couple more rounds of the championship. We had a fun round at Mid-Ohio last week. I think it's Sebring coming up this week, or next week, I should say. And yeah, that will be on at pretty much the exact same time as this. Very different format, 100-minute race. And so far, at least, we've had some real stellar races, particularly Watkins Glen was absolutely a fantastic show. So do make sure to tune in for that race in next week in 7 days' time. And of course, there's loads of other stuff as well coming up on Apex Racing TV over the next few days. We've got the ARA Porsche Cup Championship tomorrow. We've got the Apex Racing League Touring Car Britain Championship on Thursday. And also the Radical Official Series. We've got Renault 3.5 on Saturday, sorry. We've got IGP Fun and Spec Racer Ford on Sunday. We've got the Masters on Monday. Lots of stuff, and for both European and American time zones as well. So do check out all of those broadcasts by liking this video and also subscribing to Apex Racing TV. And also check out our social media as well on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from DJ Clark, and from Sam Kume, we are going to say goodbye, and we'll see you back in 2 weeks' time at Brands Hatch. See you then.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.